Who's the leader of the band that's made for you and me? DONALDTRUMP. Good morning. It's Tuesday, January the 7th, and this is The Drill. Thank you. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, a Christian, and a registered independent. My podcast is made available through Spreaker and can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. So you think you're a conservative? Do you think of conservatism as a movement? Do you believe in exceptions, middle ground, compromise? Then you're not a conservative. Today, Harvey Levin is a socialist. Steve Deace is a conservative, and don't fear the movement. All that when I come back. Thank you. Welcome back. I was listening to Mr. Harvey Levin from TMZ host the John and Ken show last week, and the difference between him and John Ken was remarkable. John and Ken are definitive, confident, certain, and they use common sense. As I listened to Mr. Levin, I realized that he is a cultural socialist, and his entire approach to life is subjective. He never makes a judgment or a value statement. He only describes his perceptions, thoughts, and feelings instead of describing reality. Steadfastly refusing to draw conclusions, steadfastly refusing to make value statements. I would recommend actually you listen to Mr. Levin whenever you can, because it helps you in identifying what a cultural socialist sounds like. And if your friends and relatives sound like Mr. Levin, then you know which way they lean. The best way to deal with subjective socialists like Mr. Levin is to ask them to clarify themselves and encourage them to draw conclusions and make judgments. When I come back, introducing Steve Deace. Thank you. Over the holidays, Steve Deace sat in for Glenn Beck. He's well worth listening to because he's a good example of a true conservative. He's not perfect, but he is smart and he communicates with certainty. Also, Steve Deace has written many books. So if you don't get a chance to listen to Steve Deace on the radio, then I do recommend that you check in with Amazon.com and read one or several of his books. Up next, what you resist persists. Thank you. The only way that the left can create and sustain a movement is with resistance. The more resistance, the bigger the movement. This is why asking questions is much more effective in dealing with socialists than making statements. If conservatives had followed this model, we would not have the legalized recreational use of marijuana in 8 states today. Back in a moment. Thank you very much. In conclusion, Harvey Levin is a socialist role model. Steve Deace isn't perfect, but he's better than most. And defeat the left, then don't resist. Who is a true conservative? He's the person that understands that conservatism is not just about politics, but culture as well. He is not selfish, but minds his own business. He acts like an adult, is patriotic, and uses common sense. He expresses what he knows and does so with absolute certainty. He makes judgments, refuses to speculate, speaks clearly and definitively, and is not afraid to say no. He is open-minded, asking why rather than why not. He is a consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of his existence, unafraid to learn or correct his mistakes. He is a normal American, and he is better than the socialist. He's a better friend, father, brother, family member, and a better person, period. You have to know that. If you don't know with every fiber of your being that being a true conservative is best, then you're wasting your time. And that brings me to the end of another episode of The Drill. Remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win. Think about it.